I'm Alex Michelson. This week, the issue is Governor Newsom heads to China. With us, former Governor Jerry Brown, who made several similar trips. Then the issue is the U.S. Senate race. Republican baseball legend Steve Garvey gives us the first interview of his Senate campaign. And then Democratic former journalist Christina Pascucci gives us the first interview of her Senate campaign. As the issue is starts right now.
Broadcasting across California, you're watching The Issue Is.
And welcome to The Issue Is. I'm Alex Michelson. You see him there standing by, the longest-serving governor in California history, Jerry Brown. Next week, we will be with California Governor Gavin Newsom in China for a series of meetings about climate change. We talked about it with him late last month. What's the message there? What's the point of that trip? What are you looking forward to?
There's no point of fooling people that we're ever going to address the issue of climate change unless we deal with the fact that two of the largest emitters on planet Earth are the United States and China, 42% of the world's emissions. So unless the United States and China create a pact to address low-carbon green growth and establish a framework of engagement despite all the noise and the back and forth, we're in real trouble.
Newsom is not the first California governor to travel to China. Here's then Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger on a trip there. And here is then Governor Jerry Brown. He made multiple trips there and met with the Chinese President Xi. Brown, now the chair of the California-China Climate Institute at UC Berkeley. Governor Brown joins us now from Colusa County. Governor Brown, we wish we were back at your ranch with you in person, but Zoom will have to do for today. Welcome back to The Issue Is.
Well, it sure is beautiful, and we enjoyed having you, and we want you to come back whenever you can.
We'd like to do that. But in the meantime, let's talk about this trip. What should be the objective of Governor Newsom's trip?
The number one objective, first step, is to forge deeper links with China. Now, the way these links are formed are with the subnational units, the provinces, Guangzhou, Shanghai, Jiangsu, and various places in China. California links up and works on climate challenges like getting more electric vehicles, getting more efficient buildings, putting a price on carbon, learning how to sequester carbon in natural lands. So the main point is to keep the door open. The rising tension with China is very dangerous. War is not out of the question. As countries build their hostility, things get out of hand.
Well, and you've talked about your concern about a potential hot war with China, not just a Cold War, but an actual hot war, and your frustration that the Biden administration and the president himself hasn't done more with President Xi.
Well, if you look around the world, war is in the air. Ukraine, Azerbaijan, pushing the Armenians out of an enclave in that part of the world, and now in the Middle East with Hamas attacking Israel. So this is a time of big-time violence, and the two biggest, most powerful countries, China and the U.S., have to rise above their many differences. It's absolutely crucial, and I think California can provide not the full answer by any means, but a continuing link and partnership, and what I call planetary realism. What planetary realism is, hey, we're on the same planet. The climate affects all of us, all 8 billion. The virus, the potential of nuclear weaponry, all that affects us in common. We have a common interest because we have a common vulnerability. And I'm very happy to see Governor Newsom carrying on what has been started by Governor Schwarzenegger, carried on by me, and now continued by Governor Newsom. It's profoundly important for California, for America, and in fact, for the whole world.
You have met with Chinese President Xi multiple times. What is your big takeaway about him and China's leadership?
My big takeaway is he is formidable. He's a strong man. He's determined. He has a sense of what China's place in the world, and we're going to have to deal with that. And of course, he knows that America is a very powerful nation. We've got two powerful nations, and we got a planet that's big enough for both of us. That's really the message. You're not going to get Xi to cower before American power. It's only on the basis of mutual respect, recognizing that I say there are 3 points. One, recognize that China is a different system, a different civilization, a different way of doing things. Number two, let's focus on getting our own house in order, and then let's forge, craft, build what they call a modus vivendi, a way of living together with China and America in this world. Those are the 3 points. And I think they're possible. In fact, they're absolutely essential if we're not going to have a war.
This is a big test for Governor Newsom. How do you assess his leadership so far as governor? And what do you make of all the speculation about him potentially running for president?
Well, as a guy who was governor 4 terms, I can tell you every governor that I know of wants to be president, including my father. Didn't quite make it, but he sure wanted it. I wanted it. I didn't make it either. So if Newsom does not harbor the intention of running for president, he would be a very strange governor indeed.
So you do think he wants to be president. Why do you think he's been so mum about it? Because you were pretty clear about the fact that you ran 3 different times.
Well, you got to be mum because we got a president. And, you know, we got a nomination, then we have an election. But California is it's a big state. It's almost a virtual country. So Newsom's being tried. He's getting the experience. And this going to China, it's good politically, but more fundamentally, it's dealing with the absolute, well, it's not, the most important thing is to avoid a nuclear war. But right next to that is to get on with reducing carbon emissions so we don't have the horror that climate change will cause all of us in the next 10 to 20 years. So Newsom's on the right track. This is the right topic, and going to China is the right place.
How do you assess him as a governor overall?
I'd say good, doing good. He's taken some of the things that I did and it's taken them further on climate, on auto emissions, on electric vehicles, lots of things. He has flaws. Even I have flaws. So do all the politicians. But I'd say on balance, he is well within the tradition of California governors, Democratic governors, and certainly one of the best.
What is your biggest flaw?
My biggest flaw, oh my God, my biggest flaw, well, I have a lot of flaws. One thing, impatience. If I'd waited and not run for president in 1980, I might have been president. But, you know, might have been, would have been. That's the way it is.
Indeed. We recently lost Senator Dianne Feinstein. I know you two were close, so close that you asked her to officiate your wedding. We've got a photo of the two of you. What a great photo at San Francisco City Hall with your wife, Ann, there. What does Senator Feinstein mean to you, and what do you think is the most important lesson we all can learn about leadership from her?
Feinstein was determined. She persevered. She was fearless. Sometimes a bit rigid, I would have to say, but part of that rigidity turned into strength and courage, particularly when she faced down Obama in the CIA report that her senatorial committee embarked upon and completed. The CIA was tapping their phones over there at the Senate, and she revealed the horrible tortures that were done under the aegis of the American government. I think that was really her stellar moment, where she stood for human rights, for human dignity, and she stood against even a president of her own party.
Governor Brown, it is always so great getting your perspective. Thank you so much for your service to our state, and thanks so much for being on The Issue Is.
Hey, it's a great program. I love to be on it.
Love that. Up next, Steve Garvey running for Senate. He gives his first interview of the campaign to us. We have that when we come back.
Garvey just teed off on a fastball by Bill Gullickson.
Steve Garvey, a legendary first baseman for the LA Dodgers and San Diego Padres. For years, there's been speculation about whether he'd run for office. He used to be called senator. There has been speculation for the last few months on whether he actually will run for the U.S. Senate. Steve Garvey is here with us to make a big announcement.
Good to
Steve,
see you again.
Good to see you. Welcome back to The Issue Is. So, Steve Garvey, are you running for U.S. Senate?
Well, it's been the worst kept secret, I think, not only California, but around the country. You know, over the years, like you said, people call me senator, and I've been approached really from both sides of the aisle about thinking about running. And it was never quite the right time. And I've had this wonderful, blessed life and been able to accomplish a lot of things. And starting when I was a bat boy in spring training at the age of 8 in Florida for the Brooklyn Dodgers. And then September 1st of 1969, I remember coming in, first time in California, into Chavez Ravine and seeing the Cathedral of Baseball for the first time. And going downstairs, going in the locker, and seeing a Dodger jersey with the number 6 on it. And my dreams had come true. I was going to put on a Dodger uniform and be a major league player. Blessed 20-year career in L.A. and San Diego. And then growing a family, building businesses, being able to use the exposure that I had to work with charities and educational institutions. And I've always said the 2 most important days of our life are the day we're born and the day we realize why. I think back to the 70s and 80s, California was the heartbeat of America. And now it's just a murmur. It's got this potential to be the greatest state in the union. But we, the people, need to stand up again. And I started hearing things like from a Giant fan, you know, Garv, I hate the Dodgers, but I'll vote for you. Or
And that's when you knew?
Or Democrats coming up and saying, you know, I hate the Republicans, but Garv, I think you can represent us. We know who you are. And I said, you mean you know I'll go to bat for you every day? And they said, yes. So I'm declaring a run for the next electable U.S. Senate and to be California's next U.S. Senator a year from now.
Let's start with this. What is the biggest issue for you domestically?
Oh, I think it's quality of life. And when you talk about quality of life, you talk about the economy and inflation. You talk about crime on the streets. You talk about education.
Biggest international issue?
Oh, I think it's national defense for this country. I put that everything else is irrelevant if we can't protect the borders of our country.
What is the Senate committee you would most like to serve on?
That's a good question. I think, you know, for a Californian, I think environment's so very important. I mean, the natural resources of this country are significant. We have to protect them.
When people hear Republican, they think Donald Trump. He's the Republican frontrunner right now. Do you support Donald Trump for president?
Well, you and I have talked. My race is the single most difficult in America. And every day when I get up, it's 24/7 focusing on this race. When I get a ballot for the general election next year, I'll look at who's on the ballot and I'll choose the person I think is best suited for the job.
Did you vote for him the previous 2 times?
The first 2 times I did.
Yeah. What about another big issue, abortion rights? Are you pro-choice, pro-life? Where are you on that?
The people of California have spoken. And the most important thing for a senator to do is to pledge to uphold the voice of the people. And I will do that, whether it's abortion or whatever issue that Californians have felt passionately enough to make that an issue that they believe in.
But to that point, the people of California voted against Donald Trump by like 30 points in 2 different elections, and yet you're still open to supporting him, right?
It's a good question.
Okay. What about Israel? We see what's happening this week.
Yeah.
If you're in the Senate right now, what would you support on that front?
Unilateral support of Israel for 75 years. You know, they've been a strong ally of ours, never wavering, and we won't waver now.
We're going to wrap up with something called Personal Issues, which is a fun 30-second rapid fire, your personal favorites culturally to get to know you a little bit better, okay? So here we go. What is your favorite TV show?
TV show. Billions.
Favorite movie?
The Natural.
Nice. Favorite musical artist or band?
Doobie Brothers. Am I dating myself?
No, I love the Doobie Brothers. Who's your favorite baseball player right now?
Oh, I think Freddie Freeman. I'm partial towards first baseman.
Dodger first baseman?
And, you know, he's 6'5".
Yeah.
And when we see each other, he puts his arm around me, and I feel like his son.
And who is your role model, Steve Garvey?
I think that Pope Paul.
Why is that?
Because of his honesty, because his leadership, is his straightforwardness, never wavering in his beliefs and his faith.
We always play music on this show, so I'm playing for you I Love L.A., because that always plays when the Dodgers win. Great to see you.
Great.
Congrats on
Thank you
the
so
run,
much.
and look forward to talking to you more in the months ahead. Steve
do
Garvey,
this.
ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back with more of The Issue Is right after this.
Coming to you from the land of Genghis Khan.
Reporting from Dana Point on the side of a cliff.
I'm Christina Pascucci in the Arctic.
For years, Christina Pascucci has worked as a journalist based in Los Angeles, but often reporting from all around the world. This week, she left her job as a reporter and weekend anchor for Fox 11 Los Angeles, and she's here to announce her new adventure. Christina
Hi.
Pascucci, welcome to The Issue Is.
Oh my goodness, I left my job. That hit real when I just heard you say that.
Okay, so what is the big announcement?
I am running for U.S. Senate.
Why?
That's a great question. You know, we've been on the front lines of a lot of the most pressing issues hitting our state. I've been in the trenches the last 15 years. I'm born and raised in California. And as I look around, I increasingly do not recognize the state that surrounds me.
Are you running as a Democrat or are you running as a Republican?
It's a good question. And, you know, as journalists, I've always taken pride in being an independent and trying to look at each issue through the eyes of a journalist. But when I look at the state of our country, I identify more with the Democratic Party. So I'm running as an independent Democrat.
So is there something in particular in the Senate that the California senators, Padilla, Feinstein, have voted on in the last few years that you disagree with, or a different policy approach you would take to them in terms of voting in the Senate?
Yeah, when I look at some of the things that they've voted on, I would vote for more money for education, for example. We've been extremely underfunded in California for decades, and we see the results of that.
This is a little weird for me because I've known you well for a long time. We go back like 20 years. We went to USC together. We worked in the field as competitors. We worked as colleagues at this station. So this is strange, and I like you personally, obviously, but I got to treat you just like everybody else.
Bring the tough questions. I want them.
Do the best that I can to treat you like everybody else. But for a lot of people, this is getting to know you, and they haven't known much about you. So tell us a little bit about your background and how you got to this point.
I'm the daughter of an immigrant. I'm a first-generation college graduate. I was born and raised in California. I'm a Valley girl, as you know, and went to USC. It is a state that has raised me that I love deeply.
And you're not only making a big professional announcement, you also have a big personal announcement as well, right?
Yeah. A big part of why I'm running and why now is because I am pregnant. And when I found out, there was this fire ignited within me that said, I cannot accept how things are anymore. I simply cannot accept the trajectory that I see this state continuing on. Year after year, as we continue to report on these issues. And so I had to do something because I want to fight like hell for her future.
Congratulations on the baby. That's
Thank
very
you.
exciting, by the way. This is a lot all at one time.
I know.
We've done something with all the other Senate candidates called the 4 questions, just to kind of get a sense of where you're at. So this is sort of rapid fire. What do you think is the biggest domestic issue?
Homelessness and public safety.
What is the biggest international issue you'd want to tackle in the Senate?
What's happening at our borders right now, the border crisis, which is also a domestic one, obviously, but that's something that has to be addressed right away.
What is the Senate committee you would most want to serve on?
Foreign Relations Committee.
Why is that?
Because I think based on my extensive foreign experience, I've been to more than 100 countries, 7 continents, telling the world's untold stories, interviewing world leaders, reporting from war zones, and I have a pretty good grasp on geopolitical issues.
Who is the senator, modern senator, that you most respect or most would want to model yourself after?
What I loved about Senator Dianne Feinstein was her way in which she could reach across the aisle and listen openly to people, even if she didn't agree with them.
We've got an image of some of the other Democrats that are running that are in the House. We're talking about Adam Schiff and Katie Porter and Barbara Lee. All of them have been in Congress for years. All of them have big bases of support. All of them have already raised a lot of money. Adam Schiff has $32 million cash on hand. What is your path to victory? How do you combat that?
Elections are a choice, and if people look at those front runners and like what they see, like how California looks right now, then maybe they're the candidate for you. They have more than half a century of collective congressional experience, and this is where we find ourselves. So that's number one. Number two, based on my vast network from reporting, from covering these important issues, and also the philanthropy I've done for more than 15 years working with underserved and foster youth, I have people who have seen my heart, have seen what I do, and are all in because they know what I'm about. So I think, you know, when you look around, there are disillusioned Republicans and Democrats who are looking for an option they don't see. And I'm that option.
You've seen this show before, and you know we like to have some fun. So at the end, we play a game called Personal Issues. This is to get to know you a little bit better. So this is 30 seconds.
Let's do it.
Rapid fire. First thing that comes to mind. Christina Pascucci, what's your favorite TV show?
Oh my gosh. Okay, guilty pleasure, The Bachelor.
Okay, favorite book?
I was just reading The Future of Democracy and How to Save It. It was fascinating.
Seems like a good topic right now. Sports team.
Oh, Lakers.
Favorite movie of all time?
The Notebook.
What is your favorite song right now?
Little Boo Thing.
Who's your favorite musical artist?
Taylor Swift.
And who's your role model?
My mother.
Why is that?
Because of how strong she is.
Tell us a little bit about her.
Well, I just can't imagine coming from Munich, Germany, and being, you know, in your early 20s, having a daughter and trying to start a life in a country where you don't even speak the language.
I'm sure she's very proud of you today. Congratulations.
Thanks,
you got
Elex.
through interview number 1.
I know. Oh, my gosh.
All right. So we end, though, with music. You said Little Boo Thing, so we got that queued up. Here's a chance to dance Little Boo Thing.
Let's hear it.
A reminder to download the Issue Is podcast for extended conversation with all of our guests, including our guests this week. Next week, I will be in China as part of the traveling press pool for Governor Gavin Newsom's historic trip there. We'll have exclusive reporting on Fox 11 Los Angeles, my social media pages, and here on The Issue Is in the weeks ahead. Thanks for watching. See you next week.